King Horik never appears at Paris, yet Frankish diplomacy placed the Danish ruler behind the crisis. That absence matters because the famous raid was only one move within a larger political struggle. Near contemporary annals identify a Scandinavian leader named Reginherus as commander of the attacking fleet. Later, tradition encouraged identification with Ragnar, but the 9th century record does not securely establish that connection. Horik enters through negotiations, accusations, and the difficult question of responsibility beyond the battlefield. His power depended less upon commanding every ship than upon managing ambitious leaders around him. Early medieval Danish kingship was not a centralized state directing raids through a permanent bureaucracy. Authority rested upon followers, rivals, tribute, family alliances, and control over strategic gathering places. Horik had survived decades of conflict within the Danish royal house. Frankish involvement in those struggles made every Danish succession dispute an international problem. The Emperor Louis the Pious had supported the exiled claimant Harald Clack. Harald accepted baptism at Mainz in 826 and received Frankish backing for his attempted restoration. Horik and his brothers resisted that intervention, defending both position and autonomy. By the early 840s, Horik emerged as the principal surviving ruler mentioned in Frankish sources. That title did not make every Scandinavian war leader his obedient officer. It did make neighboring courts expect him to answer for violence launched from Danish political space. In 843, the division of the Carolingian Empire created 3 competing royal realms. Charles the Bald received West Francia, including the Seine Valley and Paris. Louis the German ruled East Francia, facing Denmark across Saxon and Frisian approaches. Their separate interests gave Horik opportunities, but also exposed him to pressure from several directions. Frankish kings needed border security while fighting relatives and suppressing internal challengers. Scandinavian fleets could exploit those divisions without requiring a single northern master plan. River navigation turned political weakness into immediate physical access. Shallow draft vessels crossed coastal waters, entered estuaries, and advanced beyond fixed defenses. Crews still required food, repairs, local knowledge, and dependable leadership across a long campaign. Such expeditions represented concentrated investment by households, patrons, and armed followings. Their commanders pursued portable wealth, captives, prestige, or bargaining power, often in combination. During 845, Reginherus led a large force into the Seine. The exact fleet size reported by analysts may reflect convention as much as counting. Charles assembled resistance, but his divided forces could not stop the advance. The attackers reached Paris around Easter and occupied the vulnerable settlement. Churches and religious communities held movable wealth accumulated through landholding and gifts. Their clerical writers also recorded attacks through a Christian language of punishment and desecration. That perspective is indispensable evidence, although it was never politically neutral. Charles paid an enormous tribute, conventionally recorded as 7,000 pounds of silver. Payment removed the immediate threat while advertising the value of future coercion. For local inhabitants, royal strategy meant requisition, displacement, captivity, and exposed river communities. The raid therefore looks different from a court than from an unprotected monastery landing. Across the continent, another Scandinavian assault struck Hamburg during the same year. Hamburg was linked to Archbishop Ansgar's mission among Scandinavians. The attack damaged a center that Louis the German considered strategically and religiously important. Frankish sources associated responsibility with Horik's realm even when operational command remained uncertain. 2 Western attacks now converged upon one ruler's diplomatic reputation. This was the politics behind Paris. Accountability traveled farther than direct evidence of orders. Reginherus reportedly returned to Horik after the Seine expedition. That detail suggests access to the Danish court, not proof that Horik planned every stage. War leaders could enrich a ruler, embarrass him, or become dangerous through spectacular success. Silver distributed among followers converted distant violence into authority at home. Yet, returning armed men also carried independent loyalty and a reputation earned beyond royal supervision. Horik had reasons to benefit from raiding without surrendering control to successful commanders. He likewise had reasons to distance himself when Frankish retaliation became credible. Louis the German sent embassies demanding restitution and action against raiders. Diplomacy allowed threats, gifts, blame, and limited concessions to replace an expensive northern campaign. The Frankish court treated Horik as someone capable of influencing events. Its demands do not demonstrate that he possessed the power later monarchies claimed. Horik reportedly released Christian captives and returned some treasure after sustained pressure. Such concessions could protect trade, avert invasion, and present royal discipline to foreign observers. They also shifted the political cost onto men who had brought wealth home. A ruler balancing both constituencies could neither endorse nor suppress raiding without calculation. Ansgar's position added another strand to these negotiations. His missionary career depended upon safe access, elite patronage, and changing Danish political alliances. The life of Ansgar was written by Rimbert after Ansgar's death. It offers valuable memories while promoting the sanctity and mission of its central figure. Within that religious narrative, Horik eventually appears receptive to Christian activity. Receptiveness did not equal national conversion or simple submission to Frankish power. Permitting worship could serve diplomacy without abandoning established ritual practices. Missionaries themselves became intermediaries, carrying information across hostile political boundaries. Hamburg's destruction made that intermediary role even more urgent. Paris, Hamburg, and the Danish court formed a triangle of violence, negotiation, and selective repair. The relationship reveals why labeling Horik merely a raid sponsor is inadequate. Nothing securely proves his presence beside Reginherus during planning or departure. Nothing suggests he was powerless over every returning leader within his realm. The strongest interpretation lies between those unsupported extremes. Horik governed a competitive political environment that generated maritime expeditions. He could receive returning commanders, share gains, answer embassies, and impose occasional concessions. His reach remained personal, negotiated, and vulnerable to rival armed followings. Frankish rulers understood this limitation while publicly demanding kingly responsibility. Their own authority also depended upon bargains with counts, bishops, and military households. Both sides, therefore, negotiated through titles grander than their practical control. Tribute at Paris strengthened Charles temporarily, but weakened the deterrent value of resistance. For Horik, the silver's political destination mattered as much as its Frankish origin. We cannot reconstruct precisely who received each share after the fleet returned. Distribution probably rewarded crews and patrons before any ruler could claim a portion. That uncertainty prevents the raid from becoming a simple transaction between two kings. In 854, Horik died during violent conflict within the Danish royal family. The struggle reportedly destroyed many leading members of the dynasty. His death demonstrates how fragile royal supremacy remained despite decades of prominence. No Parisian treasure could permanently secure a ruler surrounded by competing claimants. The raid's most durable lesson concerns political scale rather than battlefield drama. Reginherus commanded the expedition described by the Annals. Charles paid to end an immediate danger on the Seine. Horik faced the consequences because foreign courts recognized his standing among the Danes. Whether he ordered the attack remains unknown, and the surviving texts cannot close that gap. Responsibility, however, did not require modern administrative command in 9th century diplomacy. A king could enable a maritime culture, profit indirectly, and still struggle to restrain its leaders. Frankish pressure converted that ambiguity into demands for captives, treasure, and public compliance. Horik's concessions reveal political calculation more securely than any imagined secret plan. The Paris raid became famous for silver, ships, and a vulnerable city. Behind it stood a Danish ruler navigating benefits he could not fully control. King Horik's real power appears in that dangerous negotiation, not in an undocumented place aboard the fleet.